Bahudin,
Here.
Vice President Lee,
Here.
President Tejada.
Here. May we have an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now for the installation of board trustees. Ms. Presta.
Thank you. I am pleased to be swearing in the trustees tonight. And so what I thought we would do is walk out there, and I'm going to take my microphone, and I was going to have you undo yours, but I will just undo mine and hand it to you. So we will start with Jerome Gallegos. Where's one that I can use?
All good.
Okay, there you are. Where do you want to go? You can go in the middle, please. And actually, you can hold this. I don't need it. Okay, please repeat after me. Put your right hand up.
I,
State your name.
Jerome Gallegos,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Okay.
Cool. Smooth.
Well done. Okay, Rosie Tejada. Get sworn in every time.
Oh, you did. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Also, as a reminder, everybody that's sworn in tonight, you will be signing the loyalty oath. And so Chelsea Johnson has a paper for you to sign before you leave.
Fletcher.
Yes. Okay.
I, Rosie Tejada,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you, Rosie. I don't have your certificate. Your certificate's over there. Sorry. Okay. Sure. State your name.
I, Charette Walker,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
on which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. Okay. And now I'm going to swear in the student trustees. So student trustees, what we're going to do is swear you in as a group. So when I, they're like, oh, thank goodness. So I'm going to ask you to stand and raise your right hand. And then repeat after me. When I say I state your name, of course, you state your name. And then we'll continue. Okay? I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations and thank you. All right. Well done.
Really quickly, you may notice we have a large amount of student trustees, and that's because coming to the meetings is a large job. We want to make sure we have student representation at each of our meetings from each of our schools so they share the responsibility. So there's multiple students from each school, and then they all serve on the Student Advisory Council. They're a fantastic group of students, and I'm extremely proud of you. So thank you so much for coming tonight.
Yes. I just want to remind everyone that if you wish to speak at tonight's meeting, please fill out a blue card and make sure that Ms. Johnson has that. Yes, and I know it's finals week, so if students, if you want to leave this time, you may.
And if you would like to stay for a little cupcake and refreshments, we're going to have that in a few minutes. So you're welcome to leave, and if you want to stay.
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys.
Okay.
Okay.
And so now for our governing board annual reorganization. We're going to be electing the board president, and it's a reminder, according to a board policy, that the board president has to have completed master's in governance training and new board president training. So I'm taking nominations for board president at this time.
Nominate Andy Lee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Andy, congratulations.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, so I guess we'll switch over here. All right, now item 5B, and congratulations, Madam President. We will now elect a board vice president. Are there any nominations for board vice president?
I nominate Kalima Salahuddin.
Second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. Item 5C, we'll now elect the board clerk. Any nominations for clerk?
You want to be Other discussion?
I can be board.
Are you?
So it has to be one of you?
It could be me too. It could be me too. It could
Oh,
be-
I thought you said you passed on it.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, so do you want to do it?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
All right. Is there a second on Rosie?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there we go.
Yay.
There we go. We're a little loose sometimes up
Yeah.
here. All right, and item 5D, appoint the board secretary.
I nominate Superintendent Presta.
I second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Very good. So we made it through that piece. And finally, item 6A, recognitions and commendations. We will honor our outgoing board president, Ms. Rosie Tejada. And we do have some comments here? Okay, we'll start. And we have some stuff too, but let's take the comments first.
Okay, so I know people wanted to speak earlier, but I thought I'd put everybody right here. So the first speaker is our board president from Bayshore Elementary School District, Rick.
Good evening, board trustees, President Lee. So happy to be here tonight. I sense a strong positive vibe here tonight. And as I walked into the room and I saw everyone coming through, and our student trustees here, we have Canepa, we have Scott Weiner here tonight. But this is about what's going on here at Jefferson Union High School District. I'm an alum in '89 of the high school, and I want to congratulate our two new trustees, Gallegos and Walker. I had an opportunity to meet you both at the CSBA conference in San Diego, and I look forward to collaborating with you all and bringing the districts together in a powerful manner for our students. You know, and that's the key of why we take this oath. It was a very powerful oath that I witnessed tonight. And I want to continue to work hard for our students in all our districts as we come together and collaborate and bring unity. I want to thank you guys for inviting me tonight, and it was a pleasure to witness this. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Supervisor David Canepa.
Thank you so much. You know, I really wanted to, first of all, thank the core of the board first, and thank Rosie, Kalima, and Andy. You and with the superintendent and many, many others who are in this room were really outstanding and continue to be when it came to the COVID response. If it wasn't for the Jefferson Union High School District, I think North County wouldn't have been in the position it would have been relative to delivery of services, whether it was those who are food insecure, whether it was vaccinations, whether it was testing. I remember seeing Kalima vividly at many of these, especially at Jefferson High School. To the new board members, Trustee Walker and Gallegos, congratulations. I think the team that you're joining is a pretty strong team. You think about the affordable housing and what the future of this site's going to be. And really, at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing. It's these guys. It's our students. It's our students and making sure that they have the best access to whether it's 21st century schools, whether it's issues around just support services. And so I want to make a commitment to you as you've made a commitment to the county, but if there's any way in which we could be supportive, it's all about collaboration. And one thing that we've learned during the pandemic, it's not just about a school district, it's not just about a city, and I see Mayor Buenaventura here. It's about all of us working collectively together. So congratulations to all of you, and Mr. President, a special congratulations.
Thank you.
Here is Mayor Buenaventura.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm here basically to reinforce the support Daly City has to your school district. We have always worked well, and to the new board members, you are in real good company because the collaboration, as Supervisor Canova talked about, is real. And it's there because of the relationship. You have members in your board that know how to communicate, that know how to develop a relationship, and know how to trust each other. And I'm here as representative of Daly City to let you know that we are fully committed to your issues because we care about these kids and about your teachers. And so I think moving forward, I look forward especially to working with the new members, getting to know you guys, but you're in good company. And I think together we can do a lot of great things in Daly City. So congratulations to everybody, and we look forward to more collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I believe there's at least a couple more coming. And Senator Wiener, would you like to say a couple of words?
Hi, good evening. First of all, to, I guess, just former president, congratulations on your reelection. Thank you for your leadership. And to our newly elected trustees, Gallegos and Walker, congratulations, and welcome to this form of elected public service. And I'm grateful to all of you because serving on the school board is never easy. It's never been easy. It's never been highly remunerated. It's something that people do and that you're doing because of your passion for these kids and for the district and for the importance of public education. So I just want to say thank you. This service has gotten harder in recent years. Serving on school boards throughout this country has gotten harder. A lot of intensity, a lot of anger at times. And I'm just grateful that you're willing to take on this incredibly important public trust. And for me, it's very personal. I'm a product of public schools. My mother was a public school teacher. My aunt was a public school teacher. We're now at our fourth generation of pure public schools, including my nephews who are in public schools in the East Coast. And I deeply believe in public education. And we don't fund our schools enough. And we know that in San Mateo County, North County, it's not funded nearly as much as South County. And that reflects so many of the inequities in our educational funding system, despite some of the strides that we've made. But we have been working really hard to go above and beyond Prop 98 and to use the state budget to provide additional resources for our schools. And I know that as we enter not the best budget times in the coming year, there's a deep commitment in the legislature, and I know with the governor, to do everything we can to protect public school funding. So again, thank you for your service, and I look forward to working together. Never hesitate to reach out for whatever you need.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other any other blue cards for this item? Oh, yeah, come on up.
Good evening and congratulations, Andy. Thank you, everybody, for what you do. My name's Karen Cunningham. I'm a mom, a grandma, and I'm going to be running out soon because the grandkids just arrived. Being in this area for many, many years, a little bit of my time has opened up, and I would like to be able to be helpful to you in any way I can. I know there's some great things coming up, and if you can use my brain or my brawn, give me a call. And I'm also on the Brisbane City Council, but that's not the capacity I'm here tonight. I'm here just as a friend and to be a supporter. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you. And finally, I think any comments from fellow board members as we wait to honor our outgoing president.
Sure. So I'll go first.
Yes.
So the past 2 years have been extremely challenging for you. And I think none of us really know how hard it's been, but you still showed up to every single meeting and gave, even when it wasn't reciprocated. I know a lot of times you were constantly giving of your heart, even when you are running empty. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate how you continue to show up in some of the toughest times that I've ever been on the school board. So to go through all that while still going through personal hell for just to not minimize what it was, I can't thank you enough. So we've known each other for a very long time. We've been, strong parents in the district when our kids were in school. And just the ongoing love of public education, which is what I value. I love public education. That's why I spend so much time here. And to be surrounded by people who love it as much as I am, so that, you're still involved in Jefferson Elementary. We did things down there. You ran different bonds, and parcel tax is still part of the PTA. It's just a constant gift. So thank you so much for everything you do for the district. And, I'm excited for what we're going to do in the future. Welcome to our new board members. And that I am also very excited for what we're going to do in the future. And I'm so glad that, as you heard, we didn't scare you. Being a school board member is hard. I was like, they're new. Don't get away. But, all of us have your back. And that is the one thing that I like about our board, is that we support and have each other's back. So welcome to the district.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything you want to add for outgoing President Tejada, even though it's your first meeting?
Well, Rosie, we're just getting to know each other. It's been great so far. The energy's been, real good. The vibe's been good with all of us. We've had a chance to get to know each other a little bit more on a personal level down in San Diego, so that was really, really cool. I am starting to realize just how difficult this job is that you guys do, so I do commend you on all the hard work that you've done and will continue to do, and I'm looking to doing some more good work with you, so congratulations. Yeah.
Rosie, thanks for your support so far, and thank you in advance for the rest of the support you've been giving me for the next 4 years. I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for being president, and congratulations that you don't have to be president. Board member.
Thanks.
Well, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
just before you end, I'd love to say something, but you can.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say thank you. Rosie stepped in as president right after I became superintendent, and I'm so grateful for your leadership during COVID and just a lot of trials and tribulations over these last few years. So it was difficult, and I really appreciated your leadership, and I really appreciated that we have a really open communication, and I appreciate your integrity, and I've enjoyed working with you, and just grateful to you. And I echo the sentiment that congratulations on being able to let go. It's a hard job being president. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rosie, before I present you with these items, just a few words from me personally. It's been a pleasure being your sidekick the past 2 years as vice president, and to be able to be a sounding board for you. I don't envy the work that you had to go through coming on board while we were still a virtual board, and then shifting to in-person, and along with everything else that Ms. Alhuddin shared, which I completely agree with. And with the difficulties you've experienced in your personal life that you've been so open in sharing with all of us, but you managed to continue to do the important work of being the president of this board and being at the head of this district. And I appreciate you and thank you so much for the work you've put in. I'm very proud of you, and I'm really happy to be able to work alongside you again, at least for the next 2 years, and so grateful to consider you a colleague, but most importantly, a very dear friend.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, a couple of things here. First, this is from Congresswoman Jackie Spear for you, for your service. And of course,
Good go.
For your 2 years, for 2 years of your presidency.
Great.
And we also have some personal gift items that we will present
thank you.
after we adjourn to our reception right now. So we will adjourn right now, take a recess to.
I'd like to say
Oh,
a
did you
few
want to say
things.
it first? Yeah, of course, naturally. We're happy that you said it.
I know, I did that last time.
Yes,
I
I
did
know.
that last
Yeah,
time.
go for it.
So I didn't prepare anything because I like to just speak from the heart. But when I reflected on my last few years on the board, I realized that it was really hard. And there are reasons why I don't reflect on my last few years on the board. 2018, in the middle of our parcel tax, my mother passed away. But I kept powering through because the district needed me. And that's what my family would have wanted me to do. And so I went straight from, in 2018, caring for my mom to caring for my 96-year-old father, with very little help from my siblings, I have to say. So working full-time, being on this board, being a single mom. And then in December 2020, I was asked to be president. And I really didn't want to be because my father was declining and he was in hospice. But my district needed me. And you guys needed me. Because we didn't know if you'd be able to live in the district anymore. And so I had to step up. And, but then a few months later, my father died, and I thought it broke me. But, and then, you know, I've been very open about my grief, how hard it is to continue. But I have an obligation to this district and to myself I'm here to serve. But then it became the two most stressful years on the board. And, you know, I grew up with a father who suffered PTSD from being a POW in World War II. And he suffered undiagnosed PTSD for decades. And then to be in this boardroom and have this anger and fighting, it triggered so many things, but also it triggered my having to be resilient because that's what you grow up with, you know. You have to find a way, not just to survive, but to thrive. And then in March 2022, I lost my best friend of 47 years. We met at JFK, went to Jeff together. I was actually at a board study session on a Saturday when she texted me that no more treatments were going to work and she was going into hospice. And a few weeks later, she died. And a few weeks after that, the father of my children died. And in between there, I broke my foot. You know, and that was the hardest thing because he and I were our biggest supporters for 35 years. We weren't married anymore, but we had these beautiful kids, and trying to get my kids through watching their father decline with Alzheimer's was really, it was a challenge. And then in November, my sister-in-law passed away. So I felt that through these years, I've had to be strong for so many people. And I had to be strong for my district. And when it came time to run for re-election, there was no question that I would continue because I felt I have a moral obligation to this district that's been so good to me and my kids. They help my kids get through these painful moments. And, I feel like I'm in a perpetual state of mourning, but there are days where I feel good. And I think there's more. I can put out a little bit more. And that's the hope. And when I see these two new people on the board and having spent time with you at the CSBA conference, I'm so hopeful for us. We have so much work ahead of us, but it's going to be great. I'm so excited to work with you and to continue with some of my best friends in the world. But I'm really glad not to be president anymore. It's so hard. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And with that, at 7:33, we will recess to a little reception next door.
Okay. Yay. Oh, gavel.
Your last gavel. We'll switch seats in the middle.
Yeah, we'll switch seats in a minute.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Item 9A, approval of the minutes from the board meeting of December 6th. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Communications, board report out. Item 10A, we'll start at the bottom end. Mr. Walker, anything you would like to just say during this time?
Just a couple words. So I want to thank everyone who voted for me. I want to thank the board for having a great time at CSBA in San Diego. I have a lot of confidence that this is going to be great. And I have a little bit less confidence that I won't disappoint you. But I'm looking forward to great things. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. DeAdos.
I don't have much to say at the moment, but, I'm looking forward to the opportunity of working with you guys. I know there's a lot of good we could do out there. Having a daughter in the district, kids gone through the district before, and just kind of seeing all the hard work it takes to really make things keep moving. It's definitely something I'm up to the task for, so I'm looking forward to it with you guys. And like Sherette, I appreciate everybody that voted for me. Also, I just want to thank, I didn't get a chance to thank Nick and Carla last week either, but I do want to thank them for their years of service. I mean, 12 years together that's a lot of hard work that they put in, and, probably big shoes to fill, I would say. So, hoping I could follow in good footsteps. That's about it.
Ada?
I don't have a whole lot to say. We've got winter break, and I just wish everyone will recharge and rest and not work so much, because I know all of us in the district continue to work. But please enjoy your family. And please support Westmore and Jefferson High Schools. They are gift wrapping at Serramonte Center now through the 24th. And it's just a fundraiser. They wrap presents for tips. Thank you.
To echo that, it's our last school board meeting of the year, and, I usually, even though our school year goes on, this is the time you kind of reflect on the work you've done through the year. And we've done an amazing job. We've done an incredible job. I'm so proud of us as a school district and everything that we've accomplished through insurmountable odds. I mean, that's the thing, we get... for JUHSD and the work that you do and the lives that you touch. Huge thanks to our administrative staff here in the district office and everything that you do. And happy holidays.
Great words. Jerome and Sherette, welcome aboard once again. Just really grateful to have you both here. And I am looking forward to the great work you will be doing as a part of this team in the coming years. And it's been a year. It's been a year, but it is fun to be able to reflect and see all the work that we have done. And it just makes me think about the fact that we do this because we care about those students, the ones that were just sitting right here, and all the ones that they represent. Because how can we take care of our students if our educators have been struggling with housing insecurity and other issues that they are dealing with. And the fact that we were able to take care of this particular problem for currently 100 of our staff, although I suppose that number has probably changed in the past 2 weeks. It's gone up. Thank you, Mr. Warden. But the fact that we've got 100 plus of our staff taken care of right now, and they're the ones who are front and center in front of our students every single day, that's why we do this work. We're certainly not in this for the money, because that's $280 a month and some change, I think, last I looked. It's not about that. It's about the fact that we love this district, we love the students, we love our educators. I too have 2 young adults who are graduates of this district. One's home, and one came home a few days ago, and the other one's coming home tomorrow. And they're doing some good work. I know all of our grads are doing some incredible work. And that's a testament to the great work that's being done by the educators and staff of this district. And I am so proud to be able to represent you in the work that I do. The ones sitting at this table, the ones sitting in each classroom, the ones driving them, the ones feeding them, the ones taking care of their IT needs, the paras, the maintenance workers, the list goes on. And I am grateful to be able to represent every single one of you. And thank you. Rest up, because I know we're going to be in for another sprint come early January. But take this time and enjoy time with your families and loved ones. Ms. Presta.
Thank you. I want to say, first of all, thank you to Trustee Tejada for running again, because as we have said, it's such a lot of work and it's so important. And when we knew that there were some of our board members who were not going to be running again, we started thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Who's going to lead us? So thank you for being willing to stay on with us, because you are a vital member of the team. And I want to really welcome Trustee Gallegos and Trustee Walker. I'm thrilled that you are both here. As we've talked about, we were in San Diego at the California School Board Association conference. So we had a chance to work together, to start working as a team. And I'm just really excited at the work that we're going to be able to do together. So thrilled you're here. Business-wise, I just want to remind everybody that we sent home COVID tests. We're sending home COVID tests this week to all of the students with instructions to take the COVID test before they return, and then take one a few days after they return. As I mentioned in my weekly message a couple of weeks ago, we are in school later than we typically are. So we're going, so we have school through Friday, and then we're off the first 2 weeks of January, coming back on the 9th. And that was thoughtful. We did that on purpose, because last year when we came back from winter break, we just had a really big COVID outbreak, lots of sickness from students and staff, and it was really hard to run the schools. So we, and a couple of our partner districts, Bayshore, Brisbane, and Jefferson Elementary, all did this. It was too late for Pacifica to change their calendar. But it's our hope that we will take these 2 weeks, spend time with friends and family and loved ones, and celebrate with people. And then if we get a little sick, we get better before we come back. So I'm looking forward to resting myself. A lot of our team administrators at the district office level were taking some time off. The district office, while there will be a crew here working, we're going to be closing to the public for these 2 weeks so that people can actually take some time off and relax. So I'm hoping that we will come back refreshed. Other than that, I'm looking forward to our winter formal tomorrow here at the district office. We have our Sunshine Committee that's planned a really fun party. So we're looking forward to that tomorrow afternoon. And I just wish everybody a really happy holiday season and a happy new year.
Before we jump to the AFT 1481, I do want to, he didn't speak earlier this evening, but I do want to recognize Mayor Tiger Jazz Big Steak from Pacifica, who's present with us this evening. Thank you for being here tonight. All right, AFT 1481 report, Ms. Casey.
I wanted to say thank you to the Board of Trustees and our new trustees. Welcome from AFT 1481. In the past 2 years, we did a lot of hard work. When COVID started, we were constantly signing into contracts, all sorts of contract language, side letters, and MOUs, and it just went on and on and on, and we all did a lot of work during that time. So we're going to be working closely together, and it's really nice to have some fresh faces. Not that I don't like the people that I'm used to, but it's nice to work with new people and to see where we're going to move forward. Similarly with our cabinet, our AFT 1481 cabinet, every single time we have new people, it energizes us, reinvigorates us. But like I was speaking earlier, you have to learn some things, and I'm still learning. I've been doing this for 4 years, so I hope we all learn together. Keep going, just like we expect our students to learn and be lifetime learners, so are we. So this will be nice. I want to just tell people, I'm not going to tell you all the things that are on here, but the AFT 1481 local has a website that's connected to our Jefferson Union High School District website. So just so you know how to get there, it's open to the public, so it's not just for members. Obviously, it's directed at members, but anyone can see it. So there's other items on there, such as Starbucks is trying to unionize. And so, a lot of people are trying to get into unions these past couple of years. And so I put information on there. So it's open to the public. So if you go to the website, the JUHSD website, go to For Staff and scroll down, it's the AFT 1481 website is connected. And I think it's informative for anyone to look at. So I just wanted to make that as a mention. Enjoy your holidays. We're still collecting money for our fallen brother, Brian Nasse. I will be signing the final check to the family probably the end of this week. And other than that, just looking forward to having a couple of weeks off and starting the fresh year. Thank you.
The COVID-19 response, I think that was included in your superintendent report.
Yeah, we don't have a separate report tonight.
Okay, great. So we'll move on to consent. Do we have a motion to approve consent this evening?
So moved.
There a second? On consent? Okay, second? Okay, great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. On to item 13, public comment. Do we have any other public comment this evening? No. Okay. So we'll go to item 14A, discussion items, board liaison assignments. Ms. Pressa, did you want to say a couple words about this?
Yes, thank you, President Lee. So in front of you, we have the board liaison assignments from 21-22. And many of these subcommittees, they really didn't meet. So I'm just suggesting that as we go through these tonight, we maybe want to have a discussion about whether or not we still need this subcommittee, or if we want to make it sort of an ad hoc thing that we call if needed.
Okay.
So I think we should just discuss them one by one.
Great. I will start with the first one, the JUHSD Pacifica School District, City of Pacifica, and North Coast County Water District Joint Articulation Committee. I've been on it the past few years. This is a pretty good one. They meet about 3 to 4 times a year. It had been online, now in person at the Pacifica School District offices. It's a way for the 4 agencies that represent Pacifica to talk about any issues, report out, but also talk about any issues of concern that might require further conversation between the agencies. So usually meets like around 5 o'clock on a Thursday typically. If anybody wants on.
I'll join with you.
Okay,
Sure.
all right. I'm happy to stay on as well. Cool. All right. Us, Colma, City of Colma, Daly City, Colma Chamber of Commerce.
We can keep, I'm fine keeping it the same now that the chamber is back.
Okay.
I'll
And,
stay on that.
yeah.
Okay.
We can just request a meeting. I mean, we have met with them, and, you know.
I think
but-
it's good to keep that one, yeah, I agree.
so, yeah.
All right. With the City of Daly City and Jefferson Elementary School District.
Since they said tonight they wanted to build the relationships, so we'll
that
call
was-
and see if we can have a meeting.
Well, that was Bay Shore.
No, that was with Mayor
Oh,
Bonaventura.
the Mayor Benford. Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. Oh, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, so.
No, we should do that.
Yeah, we asked before to have a not have an SDR related meeting 2x2, and they never got back to us, so we can try again.
Okay. Who wants?
So
in?
this is with Jeff L. also?
So it's JUHSD, Jeff L., and the City of Daly City.
I'm okay. Rosie. And then,
I'm interested too.
all right, Charette. Perfect. All right, and then us, City of Brisbane, Brisbane School District, and Bay Shore. I'm happy to stay on with that one.
Okay, yeah, we can.
Okay, we can leave that one as is.
Yeah.
All right, North County Prevention Partnership Pacific Collaborative. It's led by our own Mary Beer.
Has it met, or
It-
what do you guys do?
I haven't been to a meeting in about I haven't been to a meeting at all this year. And it met virtually. I think I went to one or two meetings during the middle of COVID.
So you attend their meetings,
I
is what
attend
it
their
is?
meetings, yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know what that was.
So have they been having meetings?
I don't know if they've had any meetings this year.
The significance of prevention in that title?
Oh, it's usually related to
Drug
drugs.
prevention, drug and
Drug-
alcohol.
drug and alcohol
abuse
prevention.
prevention.
Yeah.
So I just don't know what that is exactly. Does that mean you just attend their meetings, or
Yeah, just attend their meetings.
do you think that's important to do?
Probably, we probably don't necessarily need to. I think this is probably
That
one that
might be one that,
we should probably just set aside for now.
okay.
At least that's my
What do you
recommendation.
guys think?
Sure.
Yeah.
Check in with Mary.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Pacific to School Volunteers.
So what is that exactly?
That's the group that actually has helped Pacific School District with
They help with the
Reading and library.
Oceana,
yeah, and they help with that's right with
the senior act.
senior acts at
Or
Oceana.
they used to. I don't know if they do still.
So what does this entail?
Pacifica School Volunteers is an organization that just helps find volunteers, but for different organizations that are nonprofits, including schools. So they help Oceana with Senior X, adult volunteers, but also a lot of our students volunteer with them. So that's why we had a strong connection with them. I know during COVID and when we were all at home, they kind of took a hit. I don't know if they're still meeting so we could check in, but that's why we had a strong relationship with them in the past.
So this is you guys attending their standing meetings? That's what
Yes.
this is?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think it's important to keep it?
Did you attend any meetings, Rosie?
No, because for the time pre-COVID, they didn't have like a director.
Oh, okay.
So there were no meetings called that I knew of.
We can just put it on hold.
Let's set that aside for now.
Okay.
All right. The District Advisory Committee, I think we'll just leave that as with the student trustees attending. Leave that alone. Okay. All right, JHSD Joint PTA, PTO, PTSA Committee.
So that's not Jefferson, is that the Jefferson?
No, that's not
That's not-
Jefferson
okay,
Council.
it's not,
So
okay.
this was started with Mr. Minshew, and then it kind of petered out, and it never started up again.
Okay,
So, yeah, it's where all the PTAs and PTOs in the district would get together.
That, that actually makes sense to me,
would
because
be
I always
good.
wonder why we are only attending the ones for Jefferson Elementary.
Yeah, because those are
And
just the
when we're
Daly
not-
City ones.
Yeah, so I actually think
Would
this would
be
be a good
good.
idea to start up.
Mm-hmm.
It would be good to start up.
Yeah.
Who wants to join in on that?
I'll do it
Okay, Jerome?
2 times a year.
Well, we don't know yet, so.
He's like, it says right there.
I'm committed to just the 2.
2 times.
It won't be excessive, we'll put it like that. It won't be more than 2 times this year.
Be lucky if one happens at least before the end of the school year.
Who else wants to serve with you?
Oh, okay, I can do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's why. Okay, got
So
it.
we can, that's, I think, a good one to
It
start.
Yeah.
should, it would be.
Where they hear me volunteering for something else.
Yeah.
He's not in the back of the room.
All right, the CTE committee. That's, since we have that going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of
That's definitely.
CTE things going on. Do you know what that entails?
They have the 1 meeting a year. I used to do it, but I can't, since I moved to Alameda, it was too hard for me to make it over here for that meeting. It's a great meeting.
It's a great meeting.
I'm interested in that.
All right, Charette. Awesome. All right,
So just Charette.
let's make
Okay,
it just
It's
Charette.
fine, it's 1 meeting.
Daly City Youth Health Center Advisory Committee.
So I just want to say, I forgot to mention in my comments that Superintendent Press and I went to their end of the year party. And I was just blown away by how cohesive the staff was, how well they're working together. Because it's been a journey with the Daly City Youth Health Center. And to see how, excellent leadership and how well they all get along and how well they're working together and how it's actually doing the thing that we've all wanted to do since its inception, that it's fulfilling its mission. And so I just wanted to mention that, especially with the trust that we gave and then, and the investment that we made in it to see it come to fruition is fantastic. I was super proud of the team and how well they're working. So I forgot to mention that earlier, and I would love to have another board member on that with me.
I'd like to do that.
Okay,
Hey.
cool. All right. San Mateo County School Boards Association.
I'm fine staying on here with Rosie.
Okay.
I'm on it.
You
Okay.
guys are all coming. I mean, just because you're not,
Yeah, we still come to the
you all have
meetings,
to still come.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, which I haven't done.
yeah.
I know. All right. Drafted.
Yeah.
All right. County Committee on School Board Organization, that's for the 1 meeting a year in November. I'm happy to just continue on. Because that's that's literally 1 hour a year.
Yeah. We need an alternate in case you can't make it.
I'll be the alternate.
Okay.
Perfect.
And I'm unable to do my duties, which will be next year. Just kidding. All right, and finally, the committee with Summit Shasta. Did that actually happen?
I don't think so.
Do we need it?
I think so. I mean, we did have to talk to them a couple of times this year.
That's
We
true.
did.
Yeah.
For,
The board did?
no, well, we did. I mean, we had to talk to them for like SDR and others.
Yeah.
So I think having the meeting to update them on things that are happening would be good.
I'll do-
To keep them in the
I
loop.
mean, I know I'm communicating with them, but I
Yeah.
don't know if we needed, I'm very happy to have a board subcommittee if you feel it's important.
No, if you don't want to. No, if you're communicating, everything's
doing it, then
fine.
it's
We're
But I mean,
we're
like,
good.
if, I didn't remember us really having any board communication with them, so I didn't know if it was necessary.
Okay.
But,
Well, if
I'm happy to have it if you want it, but I don't feel it's necessary because I'm in communication with her.
Okay.
But,
that works for
We're
me. I
good.
think One less board subcommittee is always good. All right, so,
all right,
good.
Good.
Fantastic.
Everybody else
See,
wants to do it.
That was great.
Stay
All right,
got through it.
fantastic. All right, item 14B, Terra Nova High School updates, Principal Carey.
Woohoo.
Did you want to do an intro, Ms. Baca? Sorry.
Just go straight to the pastels.
I won't make an introduction. So thank you so much, President Lee. Tonight,
we have Miss Carey, principal of Terra Nova High School, who will be highlighting some of the great things that's happening at Terra Nova High School as indicated in the school plan for student achievement. So without further ado, there's Miss Carey.
Thank you. So good evening, President Lee and members of the board, and thank you for having me here tonight to speak about Terra Nova and present our plan for student achievement. And before I get into our goals and strategies, I want to take some time and share some of the highlights we've been able to accomplish over the past few years. And really at the top of the list is definitely 100% without a doubt our flex period. Back in 2019, the Terra Nova staff explored and we ultimately agreed to move forward with starting a flex period. And the goal was to start in fall of 2020, which unfortunately was delayed due to COVID, so it only got off the ground last year. But as somebody said to me recently, flex time has been the single best thing to happen at Terra Nova for both students and staff. And it's really great to hear the students talk about how they use flex. They're able to manage their learning, they use it to make up missed work, retake tests, quizzes, get help. And it's also a tool for them to prioritize their well-being, and I think that's often overlooked. They'll be very strategic. They'll find a classroom that they can go to just take a break and decompress during the middle of the day, or they attend one of our, we call them flexing with wellness activities that our wellness department puts on. We have rock painting, creative writing, basketball, not to mention the college and career workshops that are taking place. Another highlight has been our school climate. And while this continues to be an area of focus for us, over the past few years, we have definitely seen marked improvements in our total number of suspensions and out-of-class referrals. Our push-in program is another area to celebrate. Back in 2019, we made a very quick transition to this model. And while the program isn't perfect, it is definitely has definitely led to some increases in our CAF scores, and that's a huge proof of its success and evidence that it's a move in the right direction. So we have a lot to celebrate with that. And then finally, staffing. Staffing has always been a challenge. It's a challenge every year, but this year, Terra Nova started the school year fully staffed, and our entire admin team returned. And we've been a long time team together, and makes a huge difference to start the school year with such positive momentum. And I wanted to take an opportunity to thank the board and the district and HR for all their work with staff housing and getting new staff recruited and onboarded. So thank you very much. And while we have a lot to celebrate, we definitely always look for the areas that we need to improve. We're always looking to grow and learn. And with that said, these would definitely be our main areas of focus for us as a school community, and our goals reflect that. So first up would be our academic achievement. And like I said, while we did see an increase with our recent scores, we do have a history as a school of stagnant scores. So we're going to continue to focus on what we've been doing, and we're going to monitor to see if this is truly an upward trend. Then our school climate, we're going to continue to focus on our restorative practices, our attendance data. Our staff climate committee is meeting regularly, and this year they're reviewing the California Healthy Kids Survey data to develop objectives specifically around equity and inclusion. And lastly, an area of need that we're focusing on is the need to create systematic support. And what we mean by that is asking ourselves as a school the question, how can we be more proactive in meeting the needs of our struggling students? How can we address the gaps in our push-in program? And as we have these conversations, we're really looking to be deliberate and thoughtful about what it needs to look like so it's sustainable, equitable, and for our students to receive the help that they need. And then these are our 3 goals. And in each of the slides, I've listed all of the strategies associated with the goal, but I'll highlight just a few. With our first goal, we're aiming to increase our overall academic achievement in English language arts and math. To do that, we have increased collaboration for departments and our collaborative teams, and we're using that time to pay special attention to universal design for learning, UDL principles, grading practices, as well as using the time to refine our standards-aligned lessons, rubrics, and assessments. We're continuing to use the platform No Red Ink, which is a robust adaptive writing skills platform. It allows for skills development, guided drafts, and serves as a tool to help our teachers teach, assess, reteach, and reassess writing and grammar skills in our students. And then we're continuing to implement a standards-aligned math pathway for our students with disabilities that includes a 2-year Math 1 algebra pathway in self-contained classes. We're calling them Math 1A and Math 1B, as well as co-taught classes in Math Course 1 and Math Course 2. The core component of this pathway is collaboration and alignment with embedded class supports. And because it adheres to our scope and sequence, students have access to key topics and skills, and their students are provided with flexibility and opportunities to practice, including their basic math skills. And next up would be our second goal, where we look to address our school climate by increasing student engagement, supporting positive behavior, and improving attendance. And one strategy we've been discussing a lot recently is creating our own mentoring program at Terra Nova High School, which would be modeled very similarly after Thornton's program from a few years back. There are still some details that we're looking to iron out, but ideally we envision the program targeting students who are showing warning signs of disengagement early on, such as poor attendance, behavioral issues, and low grades, so likely 10th graders. And the goal of this program would be to foster social and academic competency while creating positive relationships with our students, getting them back on track for graduation, and increasing their options for life after high school. We're continuing to work with Circle Up. We're holding staff development on implicit bias while simultaneously looking to see how we continue to go deeper with that work. And a few minutes ago, I spoke about our staff climate committee and how they're reviewing data from the California Healthy Kids Survey. So one area that they've identified is the need to address school connectedness amongst our Latinx and African American students. We're also developing a plan of action to address hate speech and exploring ways to celebrate our diversity. We're also aware that our LGBTQ students need our support. So all of this are part of just multiple, very layered conversations that we're having on campus, and our need to make sure that we're not just talking, but actually taking action. And it's truly the culmination of years of work that we've been doing as a staff at Terra Nova in rebuilding staff trust and community so we can even start to go deeper and farther as a team. And then our third goal, we're looking to improve college and career readiness amongst our students. And one strategy we're focusing on this year is revamping what we're calling our student support program, where we're aiming to be more proactive with our struggling students, how we can identify and deliver early interventions that address academic, behavior, and social emotional needs that include different levels of support. Essentially, this would be a multi-tiered system of support where we use data to determine effectiveness of different interventions and if more support is needed. All of this while using an equity lens to make sure that the support is going to the students in need. And then lastly, this is an overview, not ovary, overview, summary of our expenditures. That's what happens when I don't write all the words down on my paper in front of me. So this is an overview. It does include different funding sources, especially from our parent groups, the Terra Nova Education Foundation, and in some cases, the PTO has helped out as well. So that is all that I have. What a way to end.
We will remember that.
Yeah. What a way to break the ice. So yeah, thank you for your time, and if you have any questions.
I'll open it up to the board for questions.
Could you explain again to me what No Red Ink is?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a web-based platform that is adaptive, that targets writing and grammar skills of our students. So there's either built-in benchmark assessments, or teachers can create their own assessment to target specific skills. So one example would be if a teacher is, it can get very complex, but if a teacher is looking to really hone in on how to help their students add context to quotes, how they're using quotes to defend a point in an essay, they can assign specific prompts and assessments within this platform. And it allows the teacher to assign that work for them, and the students can work on it in a very quick 10, 20-minute do now formative assessment, while the teacher is able to maybe handle other small group activities.
But it can be used for any level of student.
Yes, I believe the platform goes from 5th grade all the way up through 12th grade. And we're using it for all 9th through 12th graders. Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Had a few, love the color scheme.
Oh,
first.
thank you.
And then I wanted to get just some clarification on the math pathway.
Yeah.
So these are Math 1A and Math 1B. Those are both push-in?
No, the
Okay.
Math 1A and Math 1B are self-contained.
Self-contained,
So 100% supported
Okay.
math classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so they're just doing, so when they do Math 1A twice, or do they stay in it for 2 years?
So Math 1A, the way I kind of make sense of it in my mind and how I communicate it with parents would be Math 1A corresponds to the first semester of Math Course 1. And then Math 1B, which is a whole separate year-long course, would correspond to the second semester.
So they're
of
just
Math
taking a
Course
year to do the first semester.
1. Exactly.
So that you can do a little deeper dive.
Exactly. So
Okay.
Math 1A gives students math credits, and Math 1B gives math credits and counts as the state math requirement.
Got it.
Ideally, we wanted to create a math pathway that kind of supported the students up through Math Course 2, right? So you could go Math 1A, Math 1B, and then depending on the student, their skills, teacher recommendation, some assessment data, they could then go straight into a co-taught Math Course 2.
Got it.
Or if they still needed a little bit more time with those Math 1A skills, they could take Math Course 1.
Okay.
Sorry, with those Math Course 1 skills, they can take Math Course 1 co-taught and still be in a supported environment.
And so these classes, these are very small classes. Or are
Math
these
1A, Math 1B are small.
are
Yeah.
small? And what type of student are we talking about? I mean, are we talking about SDC? Are we talking about just everyone?
Any student with
With an
disability
IEP or
with an
50?
IEP, and we're using multiple data points to determine if that's the right placement for them. Yeah.
I love this idea. I kind of wish it was around when my son was in school. That it, the problem was, especially if you have a language and comprehension, that it was the problem was comprehending the instruction was so hard. So if it was slowed down a little bit, yeah. Thank you. This is fantastic. And there's another question about the co-teaching. So it's 2 teachers in the classroom oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so our Math Course 1 co-taught class is a math teacher along with one of our special education
Okay,
teacher case managers.
I see.
And same with math course 2. So we have this year one section of each, math course 1 co-taught and math course 2 co-taught.
So I would love to like track this, get some data after, out of this to see how successful this is. Because this is just, I think this is a fantastic idea. I just feel like sometimes, especially as a parent of a child with special needs, they kind of just give up, and you kind of just give up on certain things. Like, it's just too much, too hard to comprehend. Let's try to get through everything else so that we at least graduate. But to be able to graduate with those skills, really having those skills and really trying to move those data points that we all get, inundated with is phenomenal. So thank you so much for spending time on this. I really appreciate the effort here. And then one of the things that I love about student advisory is the collaboration and the communication across district. And so the flex time, I know, came out of student advisory where Jefferson explained to the Terra Nova and all the other students what flex time was. And they immediately went, we want that for our schools. So I also just want to add the value and talk about the value of student advisory and helping move the district along. And that it really helps when the students lead the way and say, this is something that I think would benefit us and help us in our learning. So thank you so much for taking on flex time. I'm really happy about that. And just everything that we're doing, all the supports here, because we get asked, as school board members constantly, what are we doing to make up for the learning? There's so much focus on the learning loss and what are we doing about it, and not as much focus about like we all survived like a pandemic. But I do understand why people are concerned, and so it's really nice to see, this is something that we're all thinking about. There's a lot of thoughtful work has gone into this. So, yeah, thank you.
Questions?
I actually just wanted to know a little bit more about what push-in program is exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So prior to 2019, we had, and I can explain it in terms of Terra Nova. Before 2019 school year, we had a lot of self-contained classrooms across various levels of English and math. And at some years, there could be a history or a science class, and those would be with our students with disabilities. And so they would not be in their general education, with their general education peers in those classrooms. So we were taking them out of that environment and having them in a whole separate classroom that was taught specifically by a special education teacher and case manager. And when 2019 hit, for kind of various reasons, mostly because of staffing. Terra Nova started the school year and we did not have a special education teacher on staff. So we made the decision to then, maybe this is the time, and I know it had been talked about in various circles, so it was kind of like, maybe we should do this now, and we did. So overall, we, instead of offering maybe like an English 2 or an English 3 that was serving, less than a dozen students, they moved into their grade level English classes, right? And then into, a general education world history or US history class. So they're alongside their peers more often and being taught by our credentialed subject mastery teachers. Yeah.
May I interject? It wasn't that there were no special education teachers at Terra Nova. There just weren't enough to have the self-contained classrooms to have like a special class for math for special education, or
And
wasn't that there were no special education teachers? Yeah,
you're absolutely. Yeah. And that was they came onto campus I think it was like several weeks or months after the school year
Yeah.
started. There was that delay.
Getting teachers from the
And
Philippines.
that was the year we recruited heavily from the Philippines. So it was just that first day of school.
Yeah.
I felt that's what reminds
That was the
brings
impetus.
back is that first day of school.
But
Yeah.
this is best practice.
Yeah.
So it's best practice to do it how Megan is describing, but it was a hard change because it wasn't what we were doing in some areas. So
Yeah,
it
and-
forced our hand a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it is best practice, and I have to give a shout out to the teachers and to the Terra Nova staff, because it was a hard change. When we made that very abrupt change, something that if you read books and articles, they say, oh, you start planning 2 to 3 years before, and we're looking at each other and it's 2 to 3 days before the first day of school. But the Terra Nova staff, we had a staff meeting, they understood the need, they understood the why, and they've never looked back. They know this is good for kids, and it's been since that moment, how do we make it better? How do we make it sustainable? How do we, how is this supposed to work? How do we continue to grow with it? That's been their perspective since that first day we made that decision.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like it's a tough task, but I think the inclusion of having those students with the other students is a good thing. It makes them feel a little bit more like the rest of everybody else, so that's good. And then also too, just to kind of double down on the flex time stuff, my daughter goes to Jefferson and she uses that thing religiously, and so I know it's helpful. It's helpful because she gets support while she's there, and a lot of times when they're struggling in school, they don't ask for support. And when they come home, they don't let us know they're struggling either. So the ability to have that time to go to a place where they have the support to get that is huge.
Right.
And I wish I had it when I was in high school. So I'm glad it's part of schools now, and I hope it's something that a lot of schools incorporate. So it's awesome. I think you'll see good results from it.
Or get pulled in, that's the part that I like too, is that teacher can pull them in and say, because talking about not asking for help,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to go to a teenager.
Thank you.
My one question, actually, with regards to the staff climate committee, which I love that you have, I know that looking at the SIPSA document itself, Latinx population is the largest non-white population at the school, about 28%. When you add in African-American students, that's about another percent. So what specific steps are you planning on taking for the connectivity that you mentioned?
Yeah, so they're talking about how to increase access and increase communication specifically to those families and to those specific population groups. So we're looking at how we can increase translation of school documents in ways that maybe we haven't had to do before or haven't thought of doing before. How can we maximize perhaps certain staff members on campus who speak another language to kind of be and serve as a liaison, because we do not have a parent liaison at Terra Nova. So we're looking at specifically how to increase our communication and access as a starting point.
Great. That's really great to hear. And what about with the other students that you mentioned, the LGBTQ community, et cetera? What are the other action steps there?
Yeah, so right now the first step has been to address the hate speech. That's the number one concern on minds of students and so forth. So we're looking to. We've started having those conversations in various groups, and I met with our GSA advisor and our BSU advisor today to just start that conversation. What would this look like? And again, it's a very layered conversation, and it's just what are some steps we can take, because it can start to feel very big. And overwhelming, and we peel one part off, and then there's a whole nother layer. So just like I said, we want to make sure that we're not just talking. I want to make sure that we're not just talking and we're taking action. So what is something that we as a staff can realistically get off the ground next semester?
Okay.
And, do we need to come together as a staff and redefine values and redefine what is acceptable and, the type of school community that we want to be, and then live it? And how do we continue to live that? How do we continue, what do staff need? I think that's probably where we're going to start.
Thank you.
Can you share what GSA and BSU
Oh, yeah,
stand for?
sorry.
No, it's okay.
GSA is our Gay Straight Alliance. It's our student club. They're both student clubs on campus. And then the BSU is our Black Student Union.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you so much, Ms. Cherry.
Thank you.
Next item, 14C, COVID Relief Funds Spending Summary, Ms. Van Raphorst.
President Lee. Thank you very much. So good evening, trustees. Today I am going to be talking to you about the COVID relief funds that JUHSD has received and how these funds have been spent and what funds we have remaining. The first slide is some acronyms that you'll see throughout the presentation. Those are just a snapshot of some of them.
Just a few.
So between March 2020 and May 2021, JUHSD has been allocated nearly $12 million in state and federal relief funds. So these funds all came with a variety of different spending requirements, different reporting rules, and different timelines. The first set of funds, as you can see here, in March of 2020 came as a result of the Federal CARES Act, and that was through 3 pots of money: the Coronavirus Relief Fund, the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, also known as GEAR, and the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, or ESSER. So the numbers that are in parentheses are the required budget resource code that we use for each fund. The ones that start with a 3 denote federal funds, and the ones that start with a 7 denote state funds. And the allocation in March of 2020 totaled almost $2.4 million and was quickly followed in June of 2020 with another $360,000 in state money from SB 98. Then in December of 2020, the Federal Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act provided another $2 million. This was more GEAR money and more ESSER money and a new ESSER Expanded Learning Opportunities Fund. And then lastly, in May of 2021, the Federal American Rescue Plan Act and the State Assembly Bill 86 provided another 7 pots of money, totaling over $7 million. And you can see the running total on the bottom brings us to over almost $12 million. The breakdown of the detail of those 7 pots of money that we received in May, or not received, but we received the allocation of in 2021 is listed here. You can see 4 pots from the federal act, and then from the state assembly bill, 3 more pots of money. The ones from the state were most specifically focused on getting schools open. The in-person instruction portion was really supposed to be focused on making sure that schools were safe and that we had the staff and the materials necessary to open schools. And some of the ELO funds, what was that again? The expanded learning, thank you. Was, to make sure we had enough staff and paraprofessionals was one area they asked us to focus on to make sure students had support. So overall, 14 pots of money, 5 different sets of rules and reporting requirements. And this report shows what we've spent through September of 2022, and that's about $9 million, leaving about $2.8 million that we will need to expend by the end of the 23-24 school year. All right, so most of the funds require quarterly reporting. So I've provided a breakdown of how the spending has been reported in each reporting type so far. The first type was for Resource 3220, which was about $1.8 million. The list on the left are the categories we could choose to spend the money in. The ones in blue are the areas where we spent and reported money being spent. The ones in gray is where we did not report any money being spent. And the pie chart shows the percentages of this $1.8 million that was spent in each category. So in category 1, addressing learning loss or accelerating progress to close learning gaps through the implementation, expansion, or enhancement of learning supports, we reported that we spent $200,000 in that category, and then you can see on the pie chart that that was about 11% of this $1.8 million. That's how you use these charts. And so you can see that we spent about $183,000 in category 4, providing additional instructional materials or supports. Category 5, devices and connectivity, almost $800,000. Number 7, professional development opportunities to help teachers and parents support distance learning was about $300,000. Our meal program for school breakfast and lunch, $350,000. And then public health testing, protective equipment and sanitation, et cetera, about $18,000, or just like 1% of this amount. Now, these categories are not necessarily distinct from each other. So for instance, one thing we purchased was a subscription to an electronic tutoring program that students could access 24/7. Should that go in category 1 or category 4? Is it addressing learning loss or is it providing instructional support? You know, so this is kind of, in many cases, more of an art than a science. And so this is showing you how we reported what we spent. Here are some examples of the major areas that we spent this 3220 in. Stipends and overtime, especially for nutrition and operations. Remember, this was some of the first money we got, so this was when we were still closed and when we were trying to get students up to being able to access their instruction, so a lot of technology devices and then adaptations for the programs that were more hands-on, like music and art. Hotspots, a lot of money spent on hotspots and technology. And then also professional development for that technology. And where I put ed tools, there were a lot of different instructional tools that I just called ed tools that we provided for the students to be able to access the learning from home. The next pot of money was Resource 3215 had this category. This was only about $200,000, and it was spent primarily on educational technology and cleaning supplies. The most complicated one is the ESSERs, the 3210, 3212, and 3213. This is also one of the biggest pots of money, $2.2 million expended right now, with about $2 million left in these this group. There are 16 different categories that we can choose from, and a lot of these are really overlapping. You know, providing mental health supports, is that really different than, well, maybe that was a hard one to categorize, but or it might not be that much different than supporting the needs of low-income students or students with disabilities or English learners, et cetera. So, you know, if we were to hire additional staff, which we have, which category are we reporting them in? So I'm not going to go through these piece by piece. You have them, and they are, you've had them in front of you. Some of the highlights of what we spent this money on so far is Chromebooks, COVID testing kits, circle up meetings, stipends, overtime for cleaning, professional development, a lot of HVAC upgrades. We have bought new buses so that students could be spread out. When we were first transporting kids for their athletics, when we first started coming back, we couldn't put very many kids on a bus at a time. Mental health, counselors, and furniture so that we can spread kids out. As you can see with this pie chart that we've spent money in almost all of the categories. And like I said, this one we still have $2 million remaining. The fourth resource that we had to report on differently was 3214. On this one, we have only spent about $46,000, and we still have almost $600,000 left. The money's being spent on technology, benchmark assessments, and teacher collaboration time at this point. The last reporting type is the next group of ESSERs, the 3216, 17, 18, and 19. This one we've spent most of the money, almost $1.2 million. There's $130,000 that is still remaining in this pot of money. Primarily, we've again spent this on technology, educational technology tools, teacher collaboration, and staffing for student support. And then there's a group of funds that we don't need to report on. So the state funds, we don't have to give a specific report. The auditors do check to make sure that these funds were spent to support learning loss or the broad range of COVID relief activities. And the bulk of this money was spent on salaries. We did have negotiated stipends to help support our staff in all of the hard work that they were doing, keeping our schools running. And that's what most of this was spent on. So if you put them all together, about 52% of the money has been spent on salaries and benefits on people through, and that is broke down on the next slide, so I won't go into that. I did break down the difference between supplies and large supplies because that is how our system breaks it up. If an individual item costs less than $500, like a mask or plexiglass for the desk, that is considered a smaller supply, and then the large supplies cost more than $500 each, like a bus or a piece of equipment, a lot of our technology. So that was 16% spent on large supplies and 9% spent on the smaller supplies. The consultants and services is really tricky because the hotspots are, the reason they're so expensive is because we're paying for that service. It's the service, and that comes in the same category as if we hired somebody to help with professional development. So it's mostly not consultants. It's mostly, we had people improving our HVAC systems. We had people providing actual mental health support. And some of the educational tools that are subscriptions come under that the 5,000 category. And the food services I broke out separately because I know that would be of interest. So about 4% of the money was spent keeping our kitchens open while our schools were closed. And feeding the whole community, really. To break down the large chunk that was spent on salaries, about $2.8 million was through those negotiated stipends, and about $1 million was on positions that provided academic and mental health support, and then smaller portions for subs and overtime. And we have about 2.8 million left. Well, that was as of September 30th. We have been continuing to spend this. I look at Corinne because she's the one that helps me spend it. This money needs to be spent by the end of next school year. That will not be hard. It will be spent well before then. We are taking the opportunity to upgrade a lot of our outdated classrooms because furniture is something that we can purchase with this. Same thing with the buses and vans. We had an aging fleet, and we are taking this opportunity to upgrade some of that. We have positions that are funded with this money that we will need to determine whether we continue once this money runs out, which will be part of our budget discussions when we talk in April. We have software and subscriptions that we use to support students, like Red Ink. And we have allocated some of this money to the schools for their individual site needs. That is my COVID report.
Great. Thank you so much. Opening it up to the board for questions.
No questions.
So I think, thank you for doing this. This is very helpful. I think the only question I have is just, is there a way that we can, without having it create too much work, like see where there are current plans for funds and where there are funds that are open? If that makes sense. Like, so I know you're continuing to spend the money. Is it already bucketed out to be spent, or is there some money that still you're figuring out what to do with?
That's a good question. I would say that it's pretty much bucketed out to be spent. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if we don't use the money, if we don't spend, we're doing the things that we think are necessary to support students. If we didn't have this COVID money, we would be looking to try to figure out where else could we get the money to do it. And so I think that how we determine whether, so we want to use the one-time money first, and especially because it has a deadline. So that's where the conversation I think will have to happen, is when we're running out of this one-time money, are we going to continue these extra positions that we've added? Are we going to continue these extra software and educational supports that we have started? And that's something that we'll be talking about. I'm not sure that we'll need to have the conversation this April because we still have more one-time money. So that's something that I need to talk with Ms. Baca about and decide whether or not some of those tougher conversations need to happen this April or if they can be postponed to the following April.
So are all the buckets where the money being spent in this presentation, or are there new things that are coming that aren't here already?
They're all in this presentation.
Got it. And so this is just funding ongoing.
Right. So these things here is what the remaining 2.8 million will be spent on. And it probably will be mostly spent by the end of this fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. That's all.
Right. One thing that I was actually very excited to learn tonight was the fact that we finally understand what the 3 and the 7 series codes are. As an accountant, that actually really helped me quite a bit. With regards to transportation, buses and vans, how many buses / vans have we purchased, and how many more are we planning on purchasing and replacing, roughly?
I don't know if I should guess or if I should look that up. I know that we have purchased 2 of each already, and I think that we are purchasing a few more, but that I'm not sure. So I'll put it in the weekly update.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. I'm just more curious. I'm glad that we're using it to upgrade, certainly. Okay, great. Thank you so much for the presentation. This was all very, very helpful. If no further questions, we'll move on to.
I just want to say thanks so much for all your work on this, especially with all the different reporting requirements. I don't know how you keep it straight, but you always do.
Thank you.
And a lot of work.
Yeah, and I think that part of the work in this is that, especially in the beginning, like we were just trying to keep the place running. And
I'm
so
having
the money was
flashbacks
just
looking at
flying.
this.
Yeah.
It was just
So true.
flying. Like, what do you need? Like, we just,
Yeah.
Oh, so
Band-aids, band-aids, band-aids.
Exactly. And it was flying.
Mhm.
All right, well, we'll move on now to item 15A1, action item. First one, the first interim budget report. You're back up, Ms. Van Rophorst.
Thank you again, President Lee. Okay, so each year, the Ed Code requires that school districts prepare and submit 2 interim financial reports. The first one runs from July 1st through October 31st, and that's what is in front of you tonight. The board will be asked at the end of this to certify the report in one of 3 ways, either a positive certification, which means that we will be able to meet our financial obligation for the remainder of this year and the subsequent 2 years, a qualified certification saying that we may be able to meet those responsibilities, or a negative certification indicating that we will not be able to meet those financial obligations. I have presented a report that shows a positive certification because I believe that we will be able to meet our financial obligations. And the report that you have, the 130-some pages, gives you all of the details on how that will happen, but I will give you a little summary through this executive summary document here. So our assumptions from when we adopted the budget haven't changed very dramatically. One thing that changed that doesn't impact us very much is what's considered our funded ADA. So if we were funded by the LCFF formula, we would have seen a really dramatic increase this year. Not only did the LCFF get a 13% increase to the base, they also recalculated the way that ADA was averaged. So rather than, it used to be that it was either the current year or the previous year, whichever was higher. Now it's a 3-year average, or your current year, whichever is higher. So our ADA would have also gone up. But we'll see later how that compares to what our actual funding is, being a basic aid or a community funded district. Our property tax estimate did increase in the current year, but it decreased in the out year. So that is something to really watch. So we went from a 5.6 projected tax revenue increase to a 6.1%. Stirs and PERS stayed the same as our estimate. So our out year, we were projecting a 4% increase for 23-24, but the estimates coming out of the county are now 3.6%. We were projecting a 4% in 24-25, but they don't project that. So I just reduced that because they reduced the one before, if that makes sense. All right, so this is the graph that shows where our safety net is. So as a community-funded district, we receive more property taxes than the state would give us through our LCFF funding formula. The blue line, or the blue bars, show how much we're projected to receive, and the orange bar shows what the state would give us if we didn't exceed our property taxes. So that gap between that, which this year is projected to be 11%, is what is at risk. That's the funding that we can't be 100% sure that we're going to receive. And if you remember, when we adopted our budget, we were looking at like a 20% gap that was growing to like 25% by 2025. Now it is it's much more close because of that big increase they gave to the LCFF formula. Whoops, sorry. Okay, the next page shows the changes from budget adoption. There's usually a bit of change here because we have to adopt the budget so early before a lot of information is known. The biggest change in our income is the local revenue. which is primarily due to carryover of one-time funds. So that's considered deferred revenue, so it shows up again as revenue, even though it showed up last year as revenue. And then the biggest change in our expenditures is due to our 3% salary increase. These one-time purchases that are budgeted is where I'm not 100% sure that we actually will be able to spend all of this. So this is our new one-time money. I have it all budgeted as being spent this year, but it's likely that we're going to spend it over a couple of years. So that those might actually come down again next next interim when we are a little bit closer on our planning. What else? So then, in our projection, we have 2 pots of one-time monies. We have a learning recovery grant and the arts, music, and discretionary block grant, which I will talk about in the next board item. We also have 3% salary increases for the current year and for the next year, and continued contributions to increases in benefits costs. We are projecting stable enrollment, which means for us that we'll probably have stable staffing, staffing levels. We won't be decreasing staffing levels, but our enrollment does not really indicate how much income we will receive. Let's see what else is new in this. Some things to point out is that we are deficit spending. When we decided to, we knew this going into this year, and we knew that providing salary increases would only increase this deficit spending, but we have a substantial reserve that, and it doesn't make sense for a district our size to hold on to that much money. So we just need to be really careful that we're monitoring the out years, because if the number here, this reserve percentage, not the reserve percentage at the bottom, but the one in the middle that is just the general fund, cannot fall below 3%. That's what puts us as qualified or negative. It has to stay at least 3%. And so the current year I'm projecting 12.8%, but because we're deficit spending, it's going to go down each year until we're not deficit spending. So making sure that we're always keeping an eye out on that third year, because that gives us time to adjust, right? Like if the third year is starting to look iffy, then we know the year before we might want to make some decisions to balance that. Okay. The last slide I included is something that I haven't included in a while, which is our budget calendar. So what I tried to show here is that there are really there's 2 things that I have to use, and that to get to our school year budgeting and reporting, and that is the state budget calendar. So each year they adopt their budget by July 1st, and the blue indicates the current year and the green indicates the subsequent year. So July 1st of 2022 is when they adopted the 22-23 budget. And then, but that budget isn't really final because they have trailer bills that happen in August and September. So we don't really know what kind of money we're going to get from the state until September of the year in which we're getting it. And then in mid-January, they start projecting for the coming year. So in January, we'll hear about the governor's budget proposals for the 23-24 school year, and in May, we'll hear the governor's revised proposals. And then again in July by July 1st is when the legislature actually adopts the budget. The other indicator that I use is our local property taxes, and that is all kind of late, right? We're getting the information late. August is when I get the first official tax projection for the year in which we're getting the money. So August of 2022, we had to adopt the budget by June 15th, but August of 2022 is when I find out the 22-23 projections. In October, we get revised projections. In November, another revision based on the actual rolls, but it's not finalized until the August of the year afterward. Like it's always like a year behind. And then what we do internally, so our first interim report we just had in December, then the second interim report will be in March, and then we will, for this current year, the 22-23, if we jump down to this blue box here, in September is when we look back and say, okay, now the books are closed, and that's how much we spent and how much we got in that year. And then in the meantime, right, yeah. And then in the meantime, January through March, I'll be working with our executive cabinet and the principals on setting our budgets, working on the LCAP goals, and deciding what spending we'll be recommending for the coming year. In April, we'll have the board work study where we make those recommendations to you and have the conversation, and then in June, you'll adopt the budget. So this was hopefully to give you a little bit of a sense of what's coming. So really, March, you'll see more detail about the current year. In April, we'll start discussing the coming year. So with that, I recommend the positive certification of the first interim.
Comments, questions, or a motion? Since this is an action item.
I move to approve the first interim budget report, the positive certification for 22-23.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Van Raaphorst. And I know, don't go anywhere because you're up next again.
Yes, I am.
For item 15A2, Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant Plan.
Thank you very much, President Lee. Okay, so the Art, Music, Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant is one-time money from the state. It can be used for any educational purpose as long as the Board of Trustees adopts a plan at one of their regular board meetings. So I am proposing the plan that is attached, that we spend this money on current sections of visual and performing arts classes at Jefferson, Oceana, Terra Nova, and Westmore High Schools. This will allow us to spend the money over 2 years, will help us potentially reduce our deficit spending because we're spending it on existing programs. And just want to make sure I point out that this is not the entire VAPA program. It's just a portion of it that works out financially to match the numbers that of the amount of money that we've been allocated, which is about 2.4 million. And the courses will continue to be offered based on student need and course availability, not just because of this grant. Yeah, so the idea is for us to spend the money in alignment with the vision of what the money was allocated for, but to also make sure that it's meeting our needs and not adding additional requirements. Any questions?
No questions? Is there a motion?
Well, I did. So, you know, I understand why we're doing this. And the only comment I have is there any way, and we could talk about it in budget, which is why I didn't, but just in the future, one of the things that I've always is hard for me is, you know, how much fundraising the art programs have to do. And so if there's any way that we could subsidize some of their fundraising. And I know we're deficit spending and it's hard to like, let's spend more money. But if there's a way to look, my fear is there's going to be so much promotion about you have new art and money. And so people are going to be expecting something more and we're not going to be giving them anything more. So,
yeah, so part of the reason also to spend this money on existing programs is that Prop 28 has passed. Mm-hmm. And we know that the rules around spending of that grant is that it will have to be on new allocations and not on existing programs.
Yeah.
And so if we were to add programs right this minute,
And, yeah.
it would make it more difficult for us to access those Prop 28 money. And so I do think that conversation is coming.
Yeah, and not spending, not creating new, but just our current, is there a way to help them, you know?
And I do think this would be something, I was going to say, I do think this is something, I don't know if Corinne
So
has
we
anything.
have, our visual and performing arts teachers have been requesting funds because they're unable to fundraise, so we
Yeah.
have been approving those.
Okay, okay. Okay. It would be good to let us know what those are. I mean, you know, I'm sure I can dig in, you know, in LCAP or the budget coming up and find them, but it'd be good to know those now, just so we can have those conversations with community, let them know, like,
Yeah, I agree. And I think, too, maybe we could put something together about what was negotiated in the last contract negotiations, adding funding to some of the arts programs and things like that.
Yeah, so some of the stipends went up, but you saw that in the salary schedules.
Yes.
But as far as like materials and other things like that, I don't know. I think we're using one-time money for that, though. So how we will sustain that, because it's really part of still COVID backlash, right? That it is very difficult to fundraise. And so we have been using one-time money to help the arts and music programs, and whether we'll be able to sustain that will be something we'll have to take a close look at.
So it sounds like maybe putting something in the weekly recap so that if you're talking with staff or public,
Right, and
you
they
have
say-
some talking points, you
right,
have some
because, you
information.
know, as you know, because you've been around, we get asked this question a lot.
Totally.
Yep. So just to have, like, you know, where I understand that it's impossible for us to meet every need, to talk about what we are currently doing would be great. Thank you, that's all.
Any other questions or comments? All right, is there a motion to approve the Arts and Music Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, item 16, consideration of future agenda items. Anything? All right. And we do not have anybody to talk about an adjournment, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Woo-hoo, all right.
All right.